Well, good morning, good afternoon. Wow, and I thought, Jim, when he invited me, he said you guys are going to be jumping up on the chairs and screaming. So let's try it again. Good afternoon. There you go. Thank you guys for having me here. I am thrilled to be here, especially with you guys breaking so many records. And Robin, thank you so much for giving me this honor as well. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to have some fun today. I love talking about social and showcasing the value. And if you think about social, social is about a relationship. It's not just about technology. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is to follow me on Twitter, Sandy_Carter, so we can stay in touch. And I would love for you to follow my blog so that as I go around the world, I've been to 73 countries, you guys can see some of the best practices that other companies around the world are leveraging with social. Now, I'm sensing maybe a little bit of skepticism in the room about social. So the question on the table usually is social business overhyped or underutilized? So first, let me start by telling you what we define social business as. So a social business is a company, so not a person, but a company who leverages social tools, microblogging, blogging, wikis, could be something posting videos, leveraging videos or pictures, and they use those tools and techniques to make their business more competitive. In fact, we look for 3 characteristics of those companies who become social businesses. First, they are engaging, so they're not pushing out marketing messages, they're not pushing out data to their employees, they're engaging in a conversation. In fact, we like to say that this is the era where we've moved from systems of record to systems of engagement. It's all about engagement. Secondly, that business is transparent, meaning it's open, it flows information from top to bottom, side to side, takes information from everywhere, and it's nimble. Now you may say, why did you choose the word nimble, not agile? Well, because a company here is able to start something in the morning, and by noon, they know whether it's working or not, so they can nimbly change things and adjust based on what they're seeing from customers. Now, I am passionate about social, not just because it's fun, because it is fun, not just because it's engaging, but I run over a $5 billion business, and I like it because it helps my bottom line. And in fact, I'm not the only one who thinks that. Social does have a return on investment. McKinsey & Company has now done 3 years of reports looking at the numbers, looking at companies who've adopted social. And they found that there is real return on investment by embedding social into a marketing process, a customer service process, a sales process, supply chain. There are real solid value and ROI to doing that. Now, let's look at social by the numbers. Did you know that 79% of companies say that they either use today or will use this year social technology in their business? 79%. But that only 22% say that they're ready for the deluge of data that will bring upon them. 22% say they're ready. Did you know, and I found this fascinating, people looking for a job today, 45% of them will take a lower paying job if the company that they're going to leverages social. So they'll actually turn down a higher paying job at a company that does not leverage social for a company that uses that social collaboration. And from our latest IBM CEO study, 73% of CEOs say that this is the #1 way that they will engage their customers over the next 3 years, #1. Now, why is that pretty fabulous? Because 2 years ago, only 2% of those CEOs said it would be a form of engagement for their company or a focus. So I believe this is not overhyped. I truly believe that social today is underutilized. Not enough companies know about its power, and that's why I'm so thrilled that Jim had me here to talk to you guys about the power and to show you the potential that each of you can take back to your companies. So let me just paint the world for you of how social can be used. Consider a police department, these are true stories, that using social and analytics determined that if they moved payphones inside of convenience stores that they would reduce the incidence of rape in their neighborhoods, and they have in Memphis, Tennessee. Consider a cement maker based in Mexico who launched its global product, got named by Harvard Business School as the #1 Management 2.0 company, not by building a new factory, but by setting up an innovation social network. Or consider our United States president, whose campaign did not do anything with opinion polls, but yet still used analytics and around persuasion and social to really determine that final key vote within 0.2% accuracy. This is the power of social combined with a few other things that we see as converging in the market. This whole area of social business, capturing that big data and this analytics so that you can use and leverage it. There's so much value there. And then if you have commerce within what you're doing, leveraging these three things together. So what I'd like to do now is to spend a few minutes talking about why this convergence matters. Now, Jim told me that you guys are all big David Letterman fans. Is that right? You like the top 10 countdown? That's what he said. But he said you guys couldn't count to 10. You could just do to 5. I think that's true too. So I just did 5. So I'm going to do the top 5 countdown on why this convergence matters to your company. And guess what? To each of you personally in this room. Your personal careers, your children's careers will be impacted by these trends that you're going to see today. So number 5, we're going to talk about the power of sharing information, that expertise and that trust. We're going to talk a little bit about how buying has been completely reshaped and transformed, and I'll give you some examples of companies doing this today. It's now all focused on the individual, no longer on a market segment or demographics. Third, we'll talk about innovation, how that's part of corporate culture now, and that social networks are the new production line. So if you think back to the production line in the past, it was the way work got done. Social networks are the new production line. And finally, results in this space requires a different type of leadership, one that I hope every single person in this room will step up to as we enter this new era. So let's do our countdown. We're going to go 5 first. So let's talk about this first trend. I find this quite fascinating. This is the power of social sharing, of sharing information. So think back, I know many of you are probably at least as old as I am. When you took a test at school, you memorized a set of facts, and you were tested on that memorization. When you got into the workforce, you found that information was power. That is now shifted. It's no longer about hoarding the information and memorizing the information. It's now shifted to finding the right information and knowing who to trust, who is the trusted source of that information. Because we all know you can't trust everything that's found on the internet, right? Not all of that is solid data. So we're moving from a time when memorizing data is now moving to finding a trusted source of information. So let me show you a couple of examples of how we're seeing this real time. So with one of our partners, Deep Mile, we did a piece of work for the United Nations. Do you guys remember back to the Egyptian crisis? And you remember that Egyptian crisis was started with a tweet, right? So the UN said, we really want to understand the impact of this. Was this really about, a couple of people who took that information and leveraged it? And they thought that the person who really drove the entire Egyptian situation would be the person who had the most followers on Twitter. And so as we were looking at their hypothesis, we actually determined that there was someone who was tweeting a lot. He had 7.4 million followers out there, and his name was Justin Bieber. Now, do you guys know Justin Bieber? Do I have to explain? No? Okay, good. Okay, I got posters, not in my bedroom, but in my daughter's bedroom. So Justin Bieber had the most followers. He was tweeting about the Egyptian crisis 4 times a day. Now, if you look at our heat map here, obviously this comes from technology, using probably a lot of the business rules and analytics that you guys drive, we found that his impact wasn't as significant as, if you look in the upper right-hand side, this gentleman who had fewer followers, but was a trusted source of information. He was an expert in this area. And when he tweeted, it went around the world. There were the tweets that reverberated around the world. So it's not the person who memorizes the most. It's not the person who has the most fans or the most followers. It's really the person who has the expertise and the influence, the trust of the crowds that makes a difference. So trust is not about is about reaction, not just about followers. So I love the fact that today that we can do social network analysis and we can visualize based on those interactions. But for a business, why do I really care? Well, in this situation, this is a community that we have inside of IBM. The little red circles are those people, like the last example I gave you, people who impact other people. Just a fact, did you know that 15% of your customers determine what the rest of your customers believe about your brand? 15%. So knowing who those customers are is great. It's hard to find, as you guys know. But once you know who they are, now what do you do with it? How do you extract the value from that knowledge? In this particular case, this enables us to find the experts, to form a relationship, which is what social's about, with those experts, and to help them influence our particular brand. The other fabulous thing is that we can now remove one of those experts from the social network to see the impact that that would have on our businesses. And what does that tell me? Well, that tells me maybe I want to treat that person better because they have more influence or impact. Maybe I want to give that person a better price on IBM software because if I remove them from the network of being word of mouth, it will impact my network in different ways. So this information, these analytics, really makes a difference and an impact on a business overall. Let me show you an example, another example of this space, because defining and discovering this expertise, developing it is very powerful. So this is an example that we have of an airline. And what they're able to do is on a device, a mobile device like an iPhone or an Android device, they can reach out for help. So the other day, I don't know how many of you guys have ever been on the plane, and you hear the pilot comes on and he goes, we got a problem with the hydraulics. So I don't know why he tells us, but he tells us what the problem is. And they send someone to fix the plane. Well, I work with a lot of airlines, and I just found out that a lot of times they'll send someone to the plane that isn't an expert in hydraulics or navigation. What they have to do is reach out to other experts to provide them advice. So this allows some of that analytics and social to be applied real time. So what happens is I show up at the airplane. I'm a mechanic. I don't have navigation expertise, but I can find through a social network using analytics to determine who are experts in hydraulics, in navigation systems. Once I find them, then I can instantly connect with them and then rate them so that they have a trusted score. Did they help me? Did they not? They said they knew about navigation systems, but really did they? The value of this to a business, this is one particular airline that we work with, a single answer to them is worth 17 euros. And if you speed that answer up, those collected answers are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. They completely justified one of their social analytics project just on being able to connect their own people to experts within their company, that one single project. So the world is changing. We're seeing now it's not about hoarding information, it's about sharing information, and it's about being able to figure out inside and outside your company who these experts are. Okay, let's go to number 4. So we're going to count down. Number 5 was really, it's about sharing information, not hoarding the information, finding experts, and that trusted source of information. The next trend is really about how the world is being reshaped in the way that we buy and that you sell as a company. And I think the trend here is that value no longer will be created by market segments, nor by demographics, but by a focus on an individual. So in the past, we did big trends, we looked for major things that were happening, but today it's about the individual. Let me show you some of what that means. For one, it means, I think, a lot of potential value created by anyone specializing in analytics or big data, because that's where we have to get down to, that analytics of a single person. So this is Florida Blue Cross Blue Shield. And what they wanted to do is to get down to the individual. They had been looking at selling particular policies by trending data, by demographics. Moms in a certain region, and people with certain illnesses. They were targeting demographics. They completely changed the way that they went to market, targeting on an individual basis, customizing a program or a policy based on the person, not based on a demographic system. The result was a 53% increase in their sales conversion, so more sales coming in, and a 62% decrease in their calls coming in, because now people were going online because they were now using and leveraging the self-service capability that was all built in. So engaging the channel, making sure that you're looking at the specific individual, not looking at the overall demographic. Now this is one of my favorite things. This is also looking at how you change this down to an individual. So this is an iPad. This is for one of my clients. And what we're doing today is on the iPad, they are shopping, their customers shop off the iPad. What we're able to do now, though, is to create heat maps for them. So you can see all the colors on the screen. The red is where the customer pushed the most, went to the most, clicked on the most. The green are areas that they still clicked on, but not a lot. You can see a lot of the blank space in there. So what does this now enable me to do? Well, it enables me now at an individual level, not again at a demographic or overall groups or segments, but at an individual level. I can optimize that shopping screen for that person. I can tell what they like videos, they don't like videos, they like recommendations, they only like recommendations from certain friends, but I can instantly see, I can visualize the information for my friends who are iLog fans, can visualize the information and therefore make decisions based on an individual, not an entire category. Now, combining those two together, I love these two examples. Both of these are examples in Asia Pacific where I have clients. Let me first talk to you about changing the behavior on the left-hand side. So whereas you may have an individual buyer, sometimes a group trend will impact that buyer. How many of you guys have children? And if you went shopping with them and they asked you, Dad, Mom, what do you think about my outfit? And you said 2 thumbs up, would they buy it? Absolutely not. In fact, sometimes I do the opposite just to get my daughter to buy something. But look at how the store in Asia Pacific has now taken advantage of that. There are hangers in the store, and on the hanger, again, combining social and analytics are the number of Facebook likes that this particular item has received. So I don't have to ask my mom, I don't have to call my friends. I can see instantly there how many likes. But it even goes further. I can say, I want to know the number of likes in my network. So let's say I have 21,000 Twitter followers. I want to know what my 21,000 people like. I can actually hit a button on here, put in my account, my Twitter account or my Facebook account, and get the number of likes from my friends, not from your friends. Changing completely the shopping experience to an individual one. On the right-hand side at the lower left, this is also fascinating to me. So this is a store in Korea. And what they've done is, again, they have outfits that have been designed by the group, by the crowdsourcing. But then they get it down to an individual layer in the store, and they actually post the #1 rated outfits. I can bring up the #1 rated outfits in Korea, or if I'm shopping in, maybe an American store, I want to know what Americans are wearing so I can look like an American in Korea. I can shop that way. I can again change it to the #1 outfit that my fans, that my friends are voting on, not all of America, but maybe my friends or my base in America. So helping you to understand, helping stores to anticipate, to get down to that individual level, giving someone that conviction now to act and to make a buy based on an individual preference, not a demographic overall. So that's our 4th trend that we see happening in the marketplace. No longer about markets and demographics, but about the individual. Number 3, innovation is now becoming part of your culture. If it hasn't yet, it will, and if it doesn't, your company won't be around, because innovation is one of the core tenets of competitive advantage as we move forward. Now, part of that is moving from making functional decisions to taking into account multiple individuals. But I see true value in the future of the predictive capability, predicting a trend based on what's happening. And I know many of you specialize in that, but we're seeing tremendous pull in the marketplace around that predictive capability. So let me show you some examples of how we are leveraging this. So this is my company, IBM. Jenny Rometty is our CEO. What we recently did is we said, you know what, we need to innovate and transform our own IBM client experience. And we want to do that by leveraging the crowd, so leveraging a social network, but then applying predictive capability to what the crowd is saying. So we had this jam. We started it inside of IBM. We had over 248,000 IBMers join in. They say that we actually posted about 11 novels over 2 days. Now, 11 novels and all this post, you can't do anything with it without analytics. And in particular, right now, we're applying predictive capability to figure out what are the IBMers on the ground in those 92 countries seeing as the next thing for client experience. So we're innovating ground up, crowdsourcing with social, but applying the predictive capability of analytics to get that convergence for true business value. Now this is another great example that I love, and this is that cement company we talked about right up front as one of the examples, based in Mexico, rated as Harvard Business School's Management 2.0 Award. Consider this, a cement company who's going social, right? Truly brick and mortar company, right? So what are they doing? Well, you can look at the data, you probably recognize it, but the way they're leveraging this social graph, this network analysis, is they're applying this to areas of expertise. So they're looking across the world based on their corporate initiatives and saying, where is that area of expertise? Does it come up somewhere? For instance, their most productive and profitable product produced in 2011 came from Bulgaria, a place that they never would have gone to before for ready-to-mix cement. It wasn't their expertise. But growing up over time, these areas and networks of experts have grown up so that now they can identify them and innovate faster. They've created an entirely new global brand in a third of the time, leveraging the power of not just analytics, but analytics plus the social elements of that social networking and crowdsourcing from 92 different countries around the world. Okay, number 2. Social networks are the new production line. So what do we mean by that? Well, some of you may have been skeptical about social when you came in because you may have thought, well, you know, social's about what my kids do at home, or I stay in touch with my kids or grandkids using social networks or Facebook. But social is so much more than that. It is the new production line because we are seeing best-of-breed companies embed social into their business processes. So we're seeing old systems of record turn into new systems of engagement. So it's not just about automating stuff, it's about engaging with people in each of these business processes. And we're seeing it impact every single process in a company. Again, becoming the new production line. So let me show you some of the things that are critical when you go to that movement that may matter to you. As you move from a system of record to a system of engagement, different types of data really make an impact. So interaction data, who do I interact with? Attitudinal data, how do I feel about certain things? Behavioral data, you know, I buy 2 pairs of jeans and then a shirt and then a skirt in that order. Descriptive data, all these types of analytics play into moving into a system of engagement because it's about a relationship. It is about the behavior. It is about the affinity that you have. It is about the sentiment that really adds value to an overall business. So let me show you an example. I'm a big animal lover. Anybody else love animals, dogs? You're going to love the story. Hopefully you won't start crying. It's so heart-touching, I think. Truly blending social networks with analytics. So Lowe's is a home improvement store. They're in the Fortune 50, based out of my home state of North Carolina. And one of the things that they've done is they have unleashed a social network inside of their employee base, 278,000 employees, all now have access to an internal social network. So what do they do in that social network? Well, they make observations about trends and patterns that they're seeing from customers, relaying discussions. Having all that information there is good, but applying the analytics now gives the Lowe's senior team insight into what's happening. This is a great story. One of the things that the social analytics started to identify from all the data entered by those 278,000 employees around the United States, Canada, and Mexico was that there was one particular type of dog treat that was being returned a lot back to the store. Now, I could have got that from an ERP system, right? What are the returns? But the value to Lowe's was the social network because somebody started a community and started discussing these dog treats and why they were being returned. And there was a huge set of reasons, and the biggest one was the dogs were getting sick, and in some cases, really severely sick. So given that Lowe's had social analytics, they identified that this was a problem with these dog treats. Lowe's called the manufacturer and said to the manufacturer, hey, I've got this data, and it shows that the dog treats that you have, they're causing the animals to be sick. And we're getting a lot of returns. And the company said, oh, no, that's not right. You know, people, maybe just the dogs don't like them. You know, no issues, no problems. So Lowe's kept it on their shelves for another 30 days, but the comments kept coming in so strongly that the analytics, as the senior team looked at the analytics, they decided to pull the dog treats from the store, from being sold. Manufacturer got very upset, but in 90 days, there was a massive recall from this particular manufacturer of those dog treats. And in fact, right now, there is a $1 billion class action lawsuit against the manufacturer and those stores that continue to sell the dog treats, Lowe's not included, because of the thousands of dogs that actually died from eating these dog treats. So Lowe's is not included in that class action lawsuit. CEO, said that saved him millions and millions of dollars. But more importantly, the employee goodwill and the customer engagement, Lowe's is really lauded right now as a hero and a rescuer of animals and fighting for animal rights. All started from a social network, applying social analytics with a company that saw this social network as the new production line, embedding it straight into their business. Okay, another example that I really love is the way that colleges are starting to kind of get with the program and using social. And I love this example because it really shows a strong system of engagement. Anybody here go to Seton Hall? Seton Hall University? No, okay. Well, soon you're going to see people coming up from Seton Hall. Seton Hall was facing a real business challenge. They saw the number of students that were coming into the school starting to go down. That's not good because for a university, that's their revenue. And so as they started looking at this problem, they decided social plus analytics was going to help them resolve this challenge. So they actually started a community, and it was called the Class of 2014. They invited every student or every potential student who applied to Seton Hall to come into the community. And as they started chatting in the community, they noticed through analytics that one of the big swingers was if someone from Seton Hall who was applying knew an alumni, high degree of correlation for people coming to the university. So what did Seton Hall do? They went out and they invited their Seton Hall alumni to join the Class of 14 community. So now you've got Class of 14 alumni talking to potential students. So their enrollment started to go up, but they didn't stop there. They started listening to the comments, inviting the professors in, looking at affinity, so which group of people like certain classes, and everything was linking together. They watched the sentiment of students on a particular set of topics, so they drove in experts on those topics. The bottom line is they had their largest matriculating class in Seton Hall's history, will be the Class of 2014. They had a 13% increase in their enrollment, 25% increase in their tuition deposits by leveraging the social network plus analytics to drive more students into their school. And I know this made an impact because one of the schools that I went to called me and said, why are you helping Seton Hall? I need more people at my school, so come and help us drive up our enrollment as well. Okay, so second trend, moving from system of engagement to from system of record to system of engagement. social networks are now the new production line as you go forward. Now, the last piece of this I find very fascinating, and this is on gaming. Now, how many people in the audience are gamers? Raise your hand. Raise your hand proudly. There you go. Good. Okay, good. Don't be afraid. I'm a gamer too. Did you know that the average age of a gamer today is 35? It's not your kids. Not your kids. Did you know that if you use a game to teach a concept, that the learner will have an 80% higher recall of that information? 80% higher. Did you know that the new millennials coming up, the way they want to engage is they don't want to be taught by someone in authority. They want to learn from a peer. They want to learn in chunks of information, right? The YouTube generation has taught them that. So gaming, which is very simply taking a behavior that you want and incenting the behavior, gaming today is one of the flyaway topics to get you to engage and to make social part of your production line. So let me give you a couple of quick stories. IBM has a game out on our website. It is our #1 demand generation tactic of everything we do, is a game. So this game, we have a hero, we have a villain. Yeah, IBM has a game, it's so cool. Did you know that 80% of people who play our game are from the C-suite? CEO, CMO, CFO. You're wondering what those people were doing. They're playing my game. Think about the power. Up at the top, you see very simple gaming techniques with badges. At IBM, we actually train our architects using gaming because we found that they love to play Angry Birds. They didn't like to take classes, so we said, maybe we could do it through gaming. And we've now accelerated education on forward-thinking topics to our architects using gaming. But could you use this commercially as well? Absolutely. So there is a consumer products company in Asia Pacific who was falling behind. Even though their products were rated top of the charts for Consumer Reports, they were falling behind because they didn't have word of mouth. And so they put a game into place where people could play the game and then write a review about their products. They've now actually outpaced market share of another consumer products company in Japan simply by leveraging a social network with the gaming engine behind it. So this makes a big difference. Okay, so we're going to go on to the last one. All of these trends call for a new type of leader out in the marketplace. And for each of you sitting in the room, that's each of you here today. So this is about your company, but it's also about you. Becoming a social leader, being open to use analytics, requires different skills than we've seen in the past. It requires a leader who's very authentic, a leader who's willing to take ideas from the crowd, a leader who's willing to admit publicly that maybe they were wrong, that the crowd was right or someone else was right. Someone who is interested in the new tools that are out there and are willing to get out there and use and leverage those with the new class of employee, and yes, someone who might be even willing to game. So this new leadership, or our new servant leader, we believe is crucial in this area. We've developed a leadership strategy. We've got cultural assessments, a whole set of things that each of you guys could take and learn to leverage your own personal skills for the good of your company in this new coming era where we are seeing markets go away and a focus on individual, where we're seeing systems of engagement, not systems of record, where we're seeing social used as that new production line as we move forward. So hopefully you got some great ideas from this. Hopefully you see the power of these things coming together. And hopefully you personally saw how your skills, the skills in this room are going to change the world, especially if you tie them to social. So if you can make sure you understand that social is not overhyped, it's overutilized. Combine the two, and I tell you, the power of this room is incredible. Thank you for your time today.